Hello, hello. Welcome to today's SEJ webinar. With me today, I have Kevin Rowe. Kevin is the founder and head of strategy at PureLink. Kevin, one of our favorites to have on here. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Heather. Thanks for having me back.
Awesome. Yeah, thanks for being here. All right. Well, we're here to talk about some ways that Kevin and his team at PureLink have been earning high authority links and show you how they're doing it and how you can do it at home, trying to build up your digital PR presence. So first, I'm going to do some housekeeping because you're not here to see me. So real quick, if you need closed captioning, it's the little CC in the top right of your screen. Give that a click. We will have time for Q&A at the end, so leave your questions for Kevin in the Q&A tab. If you see something that you like, you can give it a little thumbs up, and that'll tell us to front load those, and we'll try to answer as many of those as we can, again, at the end of the presentation. Before you leave today's call, we do have a short survey, just takes a couple seconds. It lets us know how today's webinar went, how we can make them better in the future. And lastly, you will absolutely receive today's recording and the slides in your inbox later today once that's done buffering, so watch for that. And I'll be back at the Q&A. If you've got questions, we'll be taking them maybe during the presentation. So if you have questions, leave them in there for us. And we got Jonathan in the background for tech support. So here we go. Kevin, I'm out of here. It's all yours.
Thanks, Heather. Bye. See ya. A few minutes. So my name is Kevin Rowe, founder and head of PR strategy at PureLink. I have a pretty excessive background in SEO and PR and integrating them together. A lot of what I learned over the years has helped me accomplish some things that I think are really important. And coming out of this presentation, I'd love it, see more people doing, even if it's not using PureLink, is just doing digital PR, earning links as opposed to, attempting to pay for it and whatnot. And I think some of the major benefits of using PR for SEO is, number one, if you want to rank in the top 3, I'm doing more studies around this, but from what I can see is I don't think you can pay your way into the top 3 of organic. I think you have to earn your way into it. And earning links, is a good way to rank, especially for those commercial keywords with high search volume, high intent, and I'll explain that later. With this, you can also earn thousands of links. Part of this with PR, you can earn thousands of links, relevant links too, right? And then you can earn more authoritative and trusted links as well. So when you're doing digital PR for SEO, it goes beyond the links. The links are extremely important, but I think PR, the reason why we rank in the top 3 using PR in Google for high competition, high search terms, I think it goes beyond the links, but the links are extremely important part of this. So if here's an example of the types of placements you expect to get with digital PR. So this one's actually an article written by entrepreneur.com of one of our studies. So this is actually more of a feature of the study of the content and or the content or the asset that you're sharing with the media. Here's another example of the types of links you can get with PR for SEO. So a Fast Company link. This one's where they cite the study and they link to the study with the data, the percentage or whatever the number is. I see these types of links a lot, not just the featured, but the direct link. You also get a lot of brand mentions. I'm finding with PR as well. So you do get links, but you also get these brand mentions. So they'll cite your study or your whatnot. And, so sometimes it's understandable. You're not going to get everybody to link, but if they do, it's great. But if you can get, high value brand mentions, these are also extremely valuable, but that's typically what, you might see in a PR link building program. And even ranking in the top 3, so not just securing placements, but this top 3 ranking. Here's a case study. I've been really monitoring and auditing this site quite a bit, called Electric Bikes. They're an e-bike company, and they've got a lot of media coverage, a lot of trade and national press. And they rank for a really high search volume keywords in position 1. So for the word e-bikes, Electric Bike is in position 1. And this is a quick screenshot of SEMrush for this company. Again, these are not our client of PureLinks. This is just a case study that I've found, and I think that's extremely interesting. So they rank for e-bike, which has over 90,000 searches a month in position 1. And these guys have been, the major difference I see in this site versus others is just a natural link profile. They are not doing they're not trying to build links. They're earning them strategically. But before I get into it, who is this guy who can talk to SEO and link building? So Kevin Rowe, I founded 10 plus companies, 3 in SEO and PR. I'm the founder and head of strategy at PureLink currently. My obsession is like integrated marketing communications. I've just been doing a lot, I've been applying that to SEO and PR for, since probably 2009. I specifically do a lot of enterprise PR, SEO, and analytics. And I've built and scaled teams of over 100 marketers to execute these types of programs. I built systems, processes to scale up link building. I've worked for some of the, the world's most amazing companies. I've worked for Coca-Cola, Ream Central. This is through my companies or me directly, even consulting. Hyatt, VMware. You'll see some of my content in Fast Company, Search Engine Journal, of course, Forbes, you name it. So, when I audit and analyze, a lot of link profiles or SEO rankings, it's, I've done this for a long time, and I feel like I understand what to look at. Obviously, I can back that up. What is PureLink? So PureLink is a digital PR for SEO company. Basically, we do digital PR link building pretty heavily. And here's how we do it. And I'm going to teach you, how to do this. But we take these on the left. You see our PR research reports. So our approach is specifically data-driven PR. So if you want to get more links, data is the way to do it. If your content doesn't get links on its own, data does get those links. So this is on the left-hand side example. We'll create blog articles with unique studies. Then we'll figure out who we want to target. We'll go after top tier, regional, trade press, or even podcasts. But this process, using data to get media coverage, is the reason why we've gotten like features in Entrepreneur and TechCrunch, New York Times, whatever that might be. So we do 2 different things. One, we'll create these PR research reports for you. Like if you want to do your own outreach, we'll just do the PR research reports for you. So then you can do your own outreach, or we can do fully turnkey digital PR link building programs as well. So if you want to just get the research report and then see if it gains traction organically, or you just share it and you get links, we create those reports for you. We specialize in data collection, analysis, and writing up these reports. And then again, if you just want links, turnkey, we'll take those reports and we'll pitch them to the media for you. So if you're interested in learning more about that, you can schedule a meeting with Calendly or just email info@purelink.com. Again, we've worked with companies like Kaplan, Bulletproof, the Hartford, Hyatt, Ring Central, and across a lot of different industries, B2B, B2C, travel, hospitality, universities, training. We've touched almost every industry. And then last, before we get into it, for people on this webinar only, I'm going to offer a free PR ideation. So if you want to come up with ideas, like come up with your own asset ideas, right? So I'm going to teach you how to, I'm going to give you a lot of examples of these studies and how people are using studies to get links. But the idea is a really important part of it. So if you're actually, one of the challenges you have is coming up with the ideas, email info@purelink.com, subject ideation. And then if I get enough people signed up, I'll do a webinar specific on how to come up with these ideas. I'm going to give you some, like a crash course hack, how to do at the end of this webinar. But if you really want to understand ideation, just email info@purelink with subject ideation. And if I get enough people, I'll create I'll do a webinar specifically for that. And last, we did in a study of over 350 different research reports. So these are studies that have gotten links and mentions. So after analyzing them, we have a lot of interesting, we analyze everything from like studies to get 1 or 2 links to studies to get thousands. And then we use those insights to kind of influence or inspire studies that you can get, maybe, based on how many links you want to get or what type of market you want to target or types of studies you want to do. So before we get into it, I'd love to run a survey. Have you done digital PR link building in the past? Yes or no?
Okay, we just opened that up. So that should pop up for most of you. Kevin, you want to see it? There we go. So we'll give that a couple seconds to start coming in. Sometimes it takes longer than others. This is going to be one of those times. There we go. All right. 72% of people on the call so far have said, nope, they haven't done any.
72%.
Mm-hmm.
All right, there we go. So that's interesting and not a surprise at all. All right, next. The next survey, are links still important for SEO? I feel like this has been discussed a lot and debated quite a bit. So yes, but less than in the past, or no. I feel like it's a lot more complex of a topic than this, but I feel like this is important to baseline everybody.
Let's see. Those are just starting to come in. We're doing back-to-back polls. So if that second one popped up for you, there we go. 67% saying yes, they're still important. 33% say yes, but less than the past.
That's interesting. So yeah, I do think that this is kind of interesting. I'm glad everybody on here kind of understands the importance of links. I'm pretty sure like the Google leaks, the doc leaks probably has been a big conversation. And I believe in that they indicated the importance of links. So I'm not surprised there at all, but good. But it is changing. I'll say this, that links are changing. And that's why digital PR is becoming a better avenue to build links. Meaning that you earn them naturally. You don't try to manipulate. You're not necessarily trying to manipulate the search engines, but it's the types of links. So I'll say this, that yes, links are important, but it has changed. The types of links I've seen work in 2015 to drive ranking are not working. The techniques even are not necessarily working the same. Or you have to find higher authority links or make sure it comes from trusted sources. So we'll jump into the case studies. Are there any questions people have right now? Maybe I can get into quickly before I review these case studies.
I don't think we've had any come through. We've had some people saying, yes, they're all about earned media. Mark says good links are more important now. So a lot of agreement with where you're headed, but no real questions yet.
Sounds good. So I'm going to dedicate most of my time to talking about case studies. These are not all Pure Links case studies. I found some we're limited on what we can share, what I'm allowed to share, non-competes or non-disclosures. But I found some amazing case studies online that are great examples of what I think are amazing, successful, useful ways to get links. So without any further ado, let me just jump into this. So here's the process we're gonna use to dissect these case studies. First off, it works like this. You go through ideation. From the ideation, you come up with a topic idea and a study idea. Then you do a PR research report. So you conduct that unique research, and then you go into a list and pitch. So you start to build lists of journalists and you pitch. So PR doesn't have to be more complicated than this. It can be, but ideation, create a study, a research report, and then find journalists to pitch that study to. That's all you have to really worry about. And then you want to edit, refine the process over time, right? So design thinking. So as you come up with, over time, as you do these, you're going to learn a lot, so keep reiterating, changing ideas, coming up with new studies. And the studies that I'm going to share with you here are actually pretty easy to pull together. Why is this important? Why is data so important? According to the Decisions survey, like 68% of journalists want to see original research and data in their pitches. 68%. I feel like that's pretty high. That's high. So I think data and pitching and using data to get these links, I think, are going to be like has kind of been like a game changer for me over the years. For any type of outreach I've done, using these data points are wildly important. And last is importance of trends. So 3 and 4 media journalists will block you if you keep pitching irrelevant stuff. So keep in mind, these studies come up with the ideas. These are all based on trends. So you need trends and data. start looking at cyclical trends. So is anyone, I don't, I almost asked everybody a question, but with no survey. So banning awareness week in the US happens September of every year, right? So that's an interesting trend you could align with, right? You can get any of these trends. If there's cyclical ongoing events, you can attach yourself to that event. And so if you look at banned book week, search in Google Trends, you'll see these little spikes, right? Every year. And these little spikes happen just before awareness month start. So obviously there's a significant little amount of interest in there. Now you can use these guys. I don't think they used, Google Trends to identify this, but when they come up with the study, they know that the banned book weeks is kind of an important thing. And what they did was come up with an article, which I thought was actually pretty clever, called Banned in the USA, the growing movement of censored books in schools, which actually, I didn't realize how many books were censored in the US until I actually read through this study and started to research a little bit more. So example of data points they create maps or little bar charts. And inside of it, this one, for example, has school books, book bans by state. Great. That's actually, I find that actually extremely useful data. So in this case, you can reach out to like different states or nationally, national press to gain coverage, or this could even be educational press, right? You have a lot of options to target: local press, education journalists, anybody talking about education, or possibly national press because it's a national topic. And then diving into the subject matter that was banned. And I think that, obviously picking the right topic, and you can take each of these different subject areas that was banned and use that to find new journalists to pitch. So data you can pitch with a lot of different angles, and that's what they did with this. So next poll, how many links do you think this study received? 0 to 10, 10 to 20, 10 to 50, or 50 to 100, 100 to 1,000, or 1,000 plus?
Did we kind of give the answer away in the title of the webinar, Kevin? Or just kidding.
No,
if they were looking for like a cheat sheet,
I guess you kind of did.
Yeah. So let's see. We're, about 30% saying 50 to 100, 35 saying 100 to 1,000, 24% saying 1,000 plus. So a little on the higher side.
Well, the answer is over 2,000 referring domains, which I thought was, nice. It's an outlier for sure. But I found that I actually thought that was pretty a really great topic that no one had covered at the time, or didn't cover deeply enough, right? So it makes sense that they could target almost every possible press imaginable with this. You can go local, right? Each of those states that have those books banned, why wouldn't they want to talk about that? National press, right? Now I'll show you some examples of what coverage they've gotten. They were on BBC, which is not even US based press. So you have these topics that can go national press will cover you. CNN, Forbes, New York Times, Spotify, typically, articles, The Guardian. So things like this, a USA Today on here as well. You can get a lot of those larger, when you get these topics that are a little more controversial or have some controversy built in, this is when you can get a lot of the national press. And so you'll see a lot of them, the links and mentions look like this. So CNN Style did this article about the book banning in the US. And they included the study right in here, mentioned the company, and linked back to it. These are great. This is, CNN's a great publication to get links on. But you'll see a lot of things like this pop up. Now, I also took a look at what I call DR distribution. I use Ahrefs for their DR. I like their metric a little bit better than SEMrush. For various reasons, I do not necessarily accuracy, but it seems like it tells a story that's more representative when it comes to PR-based link analysis. But this is a typical link profile you might see, and this is directly to the URL. So of these links, 0 to 19 DR. For about 740 of them were 0 to 19 DR. But then you see all of these other ones, 360 at 70, 79. I do see the 70, 79 DRs a lot in this space, but obviously a lot of them are at the higher DR range. I'd say this is not abnormal for a really good study to see a link profile like this directly to the page or through several studies. Next, we'll talk about trending angles. So this one's, I think, one of my favorite. I found the Paris syndrome report. Again, this is not something me or my team has come up with. We found these online, but through like the study we're doing and the analysis we're doing. And this one's called the Paris syndrome. So Paris syndrome, the whole idea was that when you go to Paris, it's a beautiful place in all the pictures, but once you get there, it doesn't meet your expectations. It's funny. I was reviewing this presentation with somebody, and they knew exactly what Paris syndrome was, and they went to Paris, and they had the same issue. It's an interesting topic that people are, when you travel, I think when you travel, it's just like kind of a hot topic. But it's not just Paris. So what this study did is it ranked the top 10 most underwhelming tourist cities. Which other cities? Orlando, Jakarta, Indonesia, a lot of these other cities that are kind of picturesque or you want to go to tend to miss expectations. And then I found this one actually extremely interesting. And they basically took a look at all the reviews online about travelers who went to these countries, and then found, like in this case, 19% of the people who went to Orlando had a negative comment, or had negative comments or reviews. The results of this one, over 137 referring domains. This is probably a more, this is still a good study. It's not the 2000, but you'd be surprised how you can get like hundreds of links from something like this, where you're looking for ongoing trends or things that are interesting in the news, like that. And you can see here as well the DR distribution of link profile. A lot of them are those top tier press, 70 to 90, but you do get a lot of the lower authority publications too, or domain rated publications rather. I wouldn't say this is authority, but domain rating. And then a couple in the hundreds. So this is, again, fairly natural looking curve. You always get a lot of these 0 to 19 DR range placements when you do these studies. The next one is market trends. So this is one my team did, and I'll explain the methodology here. So in this methodology, we used a Consumer Financial Protection Bureau tool, and we analyzed in each state the mortgage interest rates by state, and we mapped those out across each state, identifying the lighter the lighter states are actually the lighter states have a lower mortgage rate, and that's kind of important because trend right now, what's trending in the U.S. are home prices and interest rates increasing, right? So we were able to get some great press just because it was a trending topic. It's right now, anything when it comes to home mortgages, home costs, personal costs, it's actually really hot in the news right now. And that's why I think this one did so well is mortgage. Everyone wants to know which city to get a lower mortgage rate in. Then we ranked different states rather. Came up with a list of states and listed their mortgage rates. This is super simple. This took us maybe a couple of hours to throw together. And as a result, we get into we got a placement featured in actually an Entrepreneur, among other placements. But like, this is, I think this is like, rather than getting hundreds of links, I'd rather have a couple links, that really talk about the study. These are my favorite types of placements, when it actually talks about the data, talks about the brand. I think that has a lot to, adds a lot of the value beyond the link. And then next is another one, a national trend example. So this is a study one of my team did. Methodology here was to analyze the state level housing data statistics of 2003 to 2023, as well as like raw data from mortgages, credit cards, student loans to calculate debt. Basically, we're trying to identify like how has debt grown over the years for people in the U.S. So this right here, what this tells the story is all debt is growing. The story it tells right now for me is all debt has been growing. And as you can see, since 2004 to 2024, debt has grown pretty substantially. Student loans has been a abnormally large percentage of that growth. This is a really important story, right? I think with the increasing costs, inflation, right? The student, and not to mention a younger generation that's incurring these costs and questioning right now. A lot of the younger people are questioning college, and that's why this debt, it tackles a lot of different trends. That's why this number is so important, and I think it got a lot of traction as a result, which is shows basically a 400% growth in student loan debt as compared to auto, mortgage, general inflation, and credit card debt. So as a result, had Fox Business write up again, it wasn't about the study, but they used the data and obviously would link to it. So student loan debt has increased over 430% since 2003. That's, I was really happy with the team on this one. Like, I didn't actually expect to get a Fox Business one because the data was actually really easy to get and gather. But just nobody's told that story before. No one dug into the data like we did. And as a result, we get Fox Business or other and a number of other major publications that have linked to it as a result. Before I get in, I'm going to now explain how they did this. So I'm going to take these studies, how they built these links. I'm going to give you a quick breakdown of some hacks you can use to basically do this yourself. What I found, there's a lot of different ways to go about building links with digital PR, but I'm going to give you 3 quick steps and some little hacks you can do and tools to you could probably get a study done and out the door and pitched, honestly, with this process. And I'd say the next 30 days, 100%. Are there any questions maybe we want to go over quickly before I move on to the next section?
Some of the ones that came in at the end of the last section kind of go a little bit more to the first part. So we'll come back to those. A couple of the ones you might actually touch on in this section because we're getting questions like, what's the process? Are you using existing data to run your own surveys? So maybe some of that'll come out in this process. But yeah, I mean, if you want to start there, Brandon's asking, when attempting to run studies, what's your process? Are you looking at existing or running your own surveys?
Great question. We are looking at both. Well, we do it all, but what I'm going to give you is a resource in here of where to look to find your own data, existing data. So what we do for these PR reports almost exclusively rather, is we go out and find publicly available data that already exists. So we have like a huge database of databases, and then they're all categorized and tagged, right? So whenever we want to source, we'll go out and find data, based on the topic that we want. We'll mine through. I'll give you a process to do it, but publicly available data, I'd say, is it's the quickest way to get these. That's what these, to get these PR research reports created and start pitching, right? And then the surveys take longer. There's always 30 days plus, but we do surveys. But what we found is most of our clients, we're able to get these top tier publications by doing studies we can get done inside of 7 days. And that's what we try to do. Like if we can we want to start a project and then get a study done probably within the next 7 to 14 days, and then start pitching before the end of week 3, right? So publicly available data and a lot of the resources we've built out in the catalogs have helped us do that. Surveys just take a lot longer to do, but it depends. Surveys are unique data nobody else has, which I think does have a tendency, sometimes I've seen it get a lot more placements, but using publicly available data, or we crawl a lot of websites ethically, but to gather data maybe about a group of 1,000 websites. We want to analyze all of them. Sometimes we do that as well. And then, so the process before, again, is ideation. This actually, I know this seems simple. Do ideation first, right? So it's like, it's just come up with the idea, monitor the media, analyze media trends, then conduct your own research. Go out and find what data is available in those topics or those trends, and then come up with a list and pitch. I'm going to show you how to do this very easily. So finding topics. There's a lot of different ways to do this. We have a more complex way than this, but if you want to get started today, go into a tool called Exploding Topics. There's a free trial, but there's a paid version. And what you can do is they have a trend database. You can also do a trend analysis. I found this actually to be a great little tool. You can do trend analysis of your own keywords, but I like to just select a category in here and see what's trending. For example, here you see that men's mental health is in May. There's actually a men's mental health month, right? So in the month of May. Now, obviously, there's search volume increases pretty substantially each year for that. So you can go through here and find any of these little trends that have like a spike. Maybe they don't have spikes recently. Maybe it's a spike that just started, right? So it doesn't have to be cyclical like this, but use this tool and find topics like this, men's mental health, and then find something uptrending, right? That's really important. Then now you're going to take these topics and you're going to, any kind of topics or trending topics, and you're just going to come up with ideas that fit into 2 buckets: top or best, least and worst. We do a lot more than this, but if you want to quickly get covered in the media, just find data that says something is better than this or worse than this. This is the top one or this is the least one. So here's one like men's mental health, right? So states with the most mental health concerns, or age groups with the lowest rate of mental health, right? So you're trying to find something that's, again, there's a lot of different ways you can do these studies, but if you just kind of narrow it down to top, best, least, worst, you'll probably have something in that trend that's almost, is basically news ready. That's what the journalists are looking for, something that's better and worse, right? Best, worst, changes, things that were better than were before last year or worse than they were last year, right? College tuition prices with the best value in each state. Worst prices increase year over year, which colleges increase their price year over year the most, right? So, I think if you're new to digital PR link building, find a trend and then find data that says and proves, it's a proof that this is the top or best in that segment, or this is the least and worst in that segment. So gathering data. Now, this is a little bit different. A lot of people will say, ask your question first. You're right. Come with your question and then go get data to answer that. I get it. It makes sense. And there's some cool questions you can answer, but I think you need to identify the data first. So you need to take that trending topic area and then go out and find data related to it. Then analyze the data and then come up with 3 to 5 insights. All you need is 3 to 5 insights. Sometimes it's just that one that gets it. So like the study we did on the increasing percent of debt for college students, or for younger generation for college as a percentage of total debt. That was one insight in that whole study. And that one insight got us all the media coverage. All you need is a couple quick insights and data. And you can, you'd be surprised how like, if it's around a trending topic and it's around the best and worst, or, first and last, those 3 to 5 insights can gain you coverage, right? So if you want to do it manually, there's a lot of different databases out there they can use. So there's this actually, Google has a data set search. You can use Google data set search, or you can use PureLink. PureLink will actually do these for you. So we'll produce the research reports for you, and you can pitch them to the media yourself. They're all ideated, ready to go, pitch ready. All you have to do is upload them to your blog, and you select a general topic, and then you approve the report. So if you're interested in that, you want to take a manual approach, try this Google research and try these databases, these publicly available databases, and happy to give more database options for you. or just use PureLink and email PureLink info@purelink.com with subject equal research reports, and PureLink will I'll reach back out to you, but we can do the research reports for you. Other possible data areas, I think, is the Bureau of Labor Statistics, like CDC website. They have like tons of data. Like federal government, national or international organizations usually have a lot of databases, or you can buy databases as well. This is just a free database search, and then once if you could probably dig through this, and you'll find a lot of like super useful data. Now, after you have the study, you have the idea, you have the topic. Now you have the study, the PR research report, we call them. Well, the next step is to pitch. Now, there's a lot of different ways to pitch. We love Muckrack. I love Muckrack, and Prowly as well, are two softwares we use to build media lists. But if you want to just do it simply, like you don't have a ton of time, you don't want to spend really learn how to vet through big lists. Like it can be overwhelming to use Muckrack or Prowly or all that. I found a tool called OnePitch we love, and it's an AI tool that you'll take your pitch. So you'll have your study, take that study, upload it to OnePitch, and it will use AI to identify journalists that would be interested or talk about that topic related to the study, the PR research report. Now you can do this yourself manually, but I find that it's not a huge list. You'll get say 20, maybe 10, 20, 30 journalists per study that you can pitch, but they're usually pretty targeted. All right. So what you do in OnePitch is you'll create a pitch, you'll upload it here. So it has these text fields, which has been great. Upload the URL, all of it. What they'll do after you upload that is they'll automatically select a list of journalists. So you can see they analyzed over 3 million journalists articles, and they identified a list of, there's way more than this, but like a decent list of journalists and their emails that we can email for this story, right? So these are people that have probably covered similar topics. You have to do some analysis and filtering, but this this will save a lot of time. You won't scale to thousands of links, using the tool, but you'll be able to get some placements live pretty quickly if you have a good study and in the right angle. So last, what I'm going to share with you, this is just a quick thing. I threw this slide in here. I threw this slide in here actually today, just to give you ideas of what trends you should be looking out for. So there's these bigger macro trends in the market. And these macro trends are like labor shortages, right? So there's like things that journalists right now are just looking to talk more about. AI taking or not taking jobs is another topic. It really depends on your industry and niche, but you can probably align almost any, you can align a lot of different products or companies with these topics. College tuition prices also on the rise, and college debt, just a hot topic. And office vacancy and defaults is a hot trending topic right now too. So if anybody has, if you're in these niches at all, or related niches, or there's topics even related to these trends, or if these trends are any way related to your business or what you do, this might be something worth monitoring, researching. Maybe you can use exploding topics you can use these keywords in exploding topics also, and then go find other trends related to it, right? So, and there's other bigger trends, but this give you an idea of what you should be looking for in trends, right? Labor shortages is actually a huge, huge trend across every industry. AI taking or not taking jobs, obviously that's a trend, right? So we know that that's a conversation. So you're looking for these conversations online, and that the journalists are talking about, and make sure they're trending topics, not like something on the downward or was a conversation last year. You want something that's interesting and trending this year. But that sums it up. So you can connect with me on LinkedIn with this QR code here on the left. Also on Twitter at _Kevin Rowe, or you can email me and PureLink at info@purelink.com for any digital PR or PR research reports, or even if you have questions, happy to explain this further for you. And that sums it up.
All right. Well, we did end up with a nice bit of questions, and I love it when we've got questions in there and people are answering and giving advice. So we had a great conversation between Graham, Will, um, Zach, I think. So yeah, let's get to some of these questions, Kevin. All right. I'm going to stop sharing that. Okay. So Shubham asks, typically, how many journalists do you reach out to for a campaign?
It depends. If you're going for top tier or trade publications, like 10 to 30. And it depends on the study and the data. Like it's basically whoever's relevant. Um, so, I don't think there's necessarily a reason. I'd rather be targeted than pitch in bulk. So it's not like traditional link building where like if you pitch as say if I pitch as pure link and I pitch in bulk, we're probably going to get blacklisted, in a pretty quick time. So it's like journalists are different than like bloggers too. Like they do not stand for it. They don't want to be spammed. They don't want tons of email that are irrelevant, right? As I said before, like 3 in 4 journalists will block you if you are pitching irrelevant topics. Not that we haven't, haven't done that. I've had journalists be just not happy with the topic before, 100%. Like just feel like we're pitching irrelevant stuff. I've seen that happen. We've done it, and I don't recommend it. So small batches, I highly recommend.
So Nicoletta asks, does your website need to have an authority in your topic for the study that you're covering?
So, so you don't have to. If you want to be, if you want to have expert commentary, it's usually your expertise. So if you want to like be quoted in the media or anything like that, a lot of times you might have to have some degree of expertise there. You don't have to be like the subject matter expert. As you do these studies, this study kind of proves you're the, it provides the value. So you don't necessarily need to be an expert in the topic. However, what I like to do is have an expert review the data or have an expert like editor edit it. It adds more to it, or an expert reviewer or something like that. Typically, you shouldn't be sending out anything that hasn't been expert reviewed or you don't feel like you're an expert in. But if it's an easier topic, sometimes like it might be a topic like, best cereal brands. You don't have to be an expert in that sort of topic, right? So like consumer brands, sometimes it's just like if you have the data, the journalist will just share that data. If it's an interesting topic related to a trend and relevant to them.
My favorite cereal is Kix, by the way, if anybody was wondering. Kid tested, parent approved, loved them. All right. Boo Boo asks, does digital PR help in improving keyword rankings and domain authority for a B2B e-com website?
So, yes. So domain authority, domain authority, that topic just drives me nuts sometimes, but I've seen it if you're using metrics like DR, DA, the actual metrics. Yeah, I've seen it move it 100% always. In e-commerce. So it actually works. I think it actually is better for e-com because e-com, one of the major challenges in e-commerce is you don't have informational content typically. A lot of e-commerce sites are just like, you want to rank for commercial terms on a category or product or homepage, right? And links to a blog article, I rarely see the blog article, blog-based stuff help in e-commerce, to be honest, like heavily, unless you're an influencer and you're using that to kind of funnel people through. But what I found these studies to do is you can actually get links to the homepage. So you don't need to actually create the full study on your blog, but a lot of them will link to the homepage, which does help your, which I believe, and I've seen things indicate, it will help your ranking. I've seen the first example I gave at the beginning of this presentation was it was actually B2C ecom, but they got a ton of coverage and they did no blog content. They got all links to the homepage, internal category pages, some product page links, and then even like to like the bios of the owners or the experts and stuff like that. So e-commerce, I think, is one of those areas this works really well for. And B2B, this works extremely well for, especially industrial websites, trade publications. They love data. And then, so I think that like if I had to do any sort of marketing for an e-commerce site, I would probably I would do digital PR and avoid the blog content. Like it is the types of links you get are like amazing. So I think that's kind of I feel like I'm not completely answering like the question, but like in short, it works extremely well for e-commerce, if that makes sense.
Mhm. Okay. Nicoletta asks, based on your experience, are journalists more willing to open an email sent from an agency? And I think you touched on this a little bit, but from an agency or person with the website company that did the research?
Based on your experience, are journalists willing to open an email sent from an agency or a person directly linked to the website company or did the research? Don't. All right. So I think what this means is let me try to answer this. So we just pitch as an agency. That we don't necessarily say we do the study. We do the study for the clients, and they publish it, right? So we're reaching out. An agency, we reach out as the agency to pitch the client study, and then we pitch an expert if they have an internal expert on there to provide quotes, commentary, whatnot. So it doesn't really matter as long as a real person. I wouldn't reach out as like at purelink.com, like purelink@purelink.com if that's what you're getting at. But as a person, an agency, as long as you provide value to the journalists and you're not pitching irrelevant topics, it almost doesn't matter who's pitching it. Agency, we do extremely well. We get a ton of links. Like it doesn't matter if even like we don't. Some people in link building, what we used to do is we get emails on the client's domain back in like 2016, right? And that time frame, 15, 16. And we might pitch as the client on their behalf, right? Don't do that anymore. Now we pitch out directly as the agency. We build relationships with journalists ourselves, and so it's as long as the data is good and the study is good, you'd be surprised the data speaks for itself and gets its own. It kind of earns its own coverage.
Vincent asks how he can apply for an internship with your organization. Hiring any interns, Kevin?
We don't do internships right now. We hire I try to hire. This is a kind of interesting topic, but we try to hire just experienced people. I've grown now after like the number of companies I've built. I find that just hiring people with like experience that know how to do the job and they can do it better than you is actually extremely important. So right now we don't hire interns. Experience, but what I would recommend though, go out and do your own studies. Start pitching the press and prove you can get some coverage and talk about it on Twitter. You'd be surprised how people just want to engage with you because of that. Prove that you can do it. I mean, if somebody comes to me and they don't have tons of experience and you've done 3 studies and pitched the media and got coverage of those studies in the media, I'd probably hire you, honestly, if you're really good at that. So we are looking for full-time, PR people. So if you do, actually, if anybody is looking for a job, you can potentially apply at info@purelink.com as well.
There you go. Shabama asks, what does your email outreach stack look like for pitching? So what are you using to keep a track of everything?
I don't use a stack. We were using Pitchbox. I actually switched off of Pitchbox because we don't really do. It's like actually harder to do. Everything's kind of manual now. We were doing a lot of like email tools and things like that. You'd be surprised, just like Gmail. You're also reaching out on Twitter, on LinkedIn. You're going through contact forms sometimes. Like you'd be surprised. Like it's not as straightforward as you might think. Like I have my own tools in house that we built. We have kind of like a mixture of tools to use, but Pitchbox, I have found that to be actually a pretty good tool. However, it doesn't give you open rights or anything like that. I don't necessarily use it. We've kind of gotten away from the stack. And then it depends on the team and who likes to do what, but you'd be surprised we just use Gmail.
Jack Juarez is asking, and this says landscaping company, but I've seen questions that were for plumbers and roofers. So let's take a local aspect to this one. For a landscaping company, do you believe that this sort of strategy would be effective, or is it more of a specific niche of the industries? Because we had somebody that was a roofer and they're like, well, is this applicable to me, or too hard to do? So yeah, what about local?
100%. So actually gaining local coverage is, I find, extremely useful, and data helps you do that. So if you're a national, we deal with like a lot of national locals. We had Hyatt Hotels as an example for a client, and they have thousands of locations globally, right? So even if you're just one location, or you're multi-location, or you're countrywide or statewide, or just in the city, this technique actually works really well to gain coverage, and get in the media. So like, one, the links I think are important. The links 100% are important. But getting local links, if you're local, getting local links is actually kind of hard to do. It takes time, like a lot of the local news or news stations or blogs or whatever that might be. We get a ton of local from this. We get radio stations linking to us. We got local publications. We get local, local TV stations. Even, you'd be surprised once you publish data. We actually had clients. We're just doing. A lot of what we're doing is PR for link building, and then we get clients actually we get journalists ask for on-air interviews for local news stations around the topic and the study. We have that all the time. Some of it, like a lot of it, we turn down. But I'd say for local, don't just think about it from an SEO perspective, right? Like, you're getting mentioned in the media. As a consequence, you improve ranking, you get links, but you're creating value and interest for for the media, right? It doesn't matter if you're landscaping. Landscaping is actually, I think that's a great industry. Even plumbing, any of that, you can go out and find data for your local market. I'm in West Palm Beach, so like, how does West Palm Beach landscaping costs compare to landscaping costs in Wisconsin, right? That could actually, I find that to be really interesting. Like, how much does it cost to maintain your landscaping in Florida, West Palm Beach, which is much more expensive than other places, versus say, Indiana, right? Or states in Indiana, or cities rather. So local, I think that we don't work with any like one-off local companies, but we do a ton with local press nationally. So like companies that have an interested in these local markets, and we get a ton of coverage and links as a result. And it ranks low. It does seem to rank locally as well. But again, you want to get links, but also get the media coverage. And as long as you're in the market, you're really targeting that local market, and you're getting a lot of coverage in that local market. You want to rank, you want to rank in that local market, and there's all your customer bases in that one market, city or state, maybe. These types of techniques are super useful, but you can localize the data. I love localizing data to the city or state. For the landscaping one, I would say I would do this. I'd go out and find the cost, any kind of cost data nationally by city across the US of landscaping, the cost of landscaping, and then use that data to write a research report and start pitching maybe your city versus even other cities as well.
Great tips. So since we're talking about pitching, Irina asks, personalized and creative email or short and clear?
With studies, so I have a specific model I use. It's not a template, but a methodology. It just has to, you have to attach yourself to a trend. That's the first thing. They need to know that this is related to a topic that's interesting to them. That's number one. It's the first thing journalists want to know. Is this relevant to me? And is it interesting? And then next thing you need to say is what's new, right? And then lastly, why it's important. Those three things need to happen right away for journalists to really be interested in it. Then use a bullet point list of all the data you have. So then we just take the data, turn that into a bullet point list, and make it easily scannable. So many people make this mistake. Just you could write a 500-word email, and if it's just really easy to scan and pick up the key points, and you get across the big idea, what trend is this related to, what's new in the data or in general, and then why is this important to that audience, that journalist's audience? And if you can get those three things across right away, they'll keep reading. So it doesn't matter. In short, it doesn't matter. But I can say this: journalists read a lot. They have a lot in their inbox. The quicker you can get the key value that you're providing them and their audience across, the faster, more likely you are to get a lot of mentions, coverage.
Yeah, that personalization helps. Jonathan Alonso, after that local one that you just answered, he said that local works even better. He did the same strategy for a cleaning company franchise in Central Florida, and they had great success with that. So
Yeah.
nice. I think we got time for one, maybe two more questions. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's see. That one we covered. I touched a little bit, but this goes back to that first section of the presentation. Since the Google API leak, do you agree that digital PR is one of the most important ranking factors?
Well, it's not a ranking factor. I'll just say that. Like, it's not. When you talk about ranking, so we're talking about Google's ranking system. You've probably seen like the 200 lists of things out there. I wouldn't consider digital PR as a factor. The links you get, the context that they're in, I believe that there's factors inside of those, right? So like, there's little things inside of that, like indicators. But here's what I think: the Google API leaks, although I'll just, obviously the API leaks, they might be somewhat outdated. We don't know the context. We don't know that they're full. There's a lot wrong with it. I wouldn't, I even did a survey, and most people said they didn't really change anything as a result, but I found it interesting and can make small tweaks to their program as a result. So just to clarify, the API leaks, I don't use those to guide anything I do per se. But what I found interesting in there, and I think why digital PR is really important, is digital PR, one, drives brand search. I'm doing this at the end because anybody that's stuck around for all of this, I feel like that's extremely important. I wasn't going to give this away right now, but like, if you can get digital PR to drive brand search, that is, I believe, an important rank factor, right? So how many people are searching your brand? Probably a little more complex than that, but like, are they searching out your brand after they read about you? So I think now in the API leaks, they had the nav boost, whatever they want to call it. So there's a nav boost, maybe algorithm or whatever it was. That indicates that like engagement with your site and your content is a factor. It gets really complex, obviously, but like engagement, I found, is actually a really important thing. Not to mention, it seems like they also said that links are important, right? But I think one of the things I gathered from it, I don't have the exact terminology, but like context is actually really important. So are you getting, are your links coming back in a contextual, are you getting links from areas that should link back to you, right? Or are these just sites you're building to build links, to build and manipulate authority? Or are these sources that actually should be linking to you? Digital PR takes all of the guesswork out of link building. Link building before was, I need to get a bunch of high DR sites, or I need, they must have traffic, or they should rank for keywords, or their link profile should look like this. My anchor text should be this. All of that is insane to me. And what I've learned from the API, like the API leaks, and not just that, what's more important is how Google integrates AI into the ranking system. They don't talk about it a lot, but I believe that is actually the more important thing to think about, which is if Google can use AI in the ranking system to identify whether a link was built manually or it was like used to manipulate, or maybe it's like a weird link profile that is not natural. From what I can see, I think Google is probably why digital PR links are working so well. I think Google can tell to a degree when those links were built because that asset was relevant, right, to their audience. That it was useful, it was helpful, and so digital PR just kind of takes a lot of that out, gives you less control over, like, you can't point the link to a specific page or anything like that, or with the exact anchor text. It just, PR doesn't work like that. I think that, it's all about just like Google's AI. Google's AI has the ability to kind of like understand if you're developing it through your marketing, the link profile through your marketing. I think that's what Google wants. We've heard them say this time and time again. I think now AI has given their algorithm the ability to better better than ever, analyze your link profile and see if, hey, was these links earned because of the merit of the content and the website.
All right, Kevin. Well, that puts us at time. We got a couple other questions. We'll send everything over to you. But I want to thank everybody for being here, for sticking with us for this hour. Stick around for that survey. If you have a minute, Kevin, tell the people where to find you.
Sure. You can email me info@purelink.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn, which you have the QR code if you didn't scan it already. Or you can find me at Twitter at _Kevin Rowe. Or you can go to PureLink, PureLink.com.
Awesome. Great conversation between everybody today. Thanks so much for joining us. Kevin, we'll see you on the next one. And we'll see everybody else next Wednesday.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.